think of things that release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, we often think cars and factories. But a huge emitter of CO2 that's often overlooked is cement. Concrete is used to build our bridges, our dams, our roads, our sidewalks, even our skyscrapers. This material has helped us build civilizations, but it has also strained our environment in the process. For every 1 ton of cement produced, there is a ton of CO2 that is released into the atmosphere. Every year, more than 4 billion tons of cement are produced, accounting for around 8% of global CO2 emissions. To put that in context, if the cement industry were a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of CO2 in the world. Atmospheric CO2 levels are directly correlated with rising global temperatures, and both have been rising drastically. If the planet's temperature gets too warm, climate scientists predict bouts of extreme weather, rising sea levels, and scarce food supplies.
It's the 2nd highest industrial source of CO2 on the planet. But without cement, concrete doesn't hold up skyscrapers.
Most of the emissions associated with concrete actually occur in the production of the cement. The way that you generally make cement is you mine limestone from the earth, and then you mix it with some other things and heat it up in a kiln to very high temperatures, about 1500 degrees Celsius. Then there's a chemical transformation that takes place, and there's carbon dioxide that's emitted as part of that chemical transformation, and also carbon dioxide emitted with the energy associated with heating up the kiln in which the cement is produced to such high temperatures.
New Jersey-based startup Solidia Technologies. Solidia says their cement mixture and curing process can cut CO2 emissions by up to 70%. In order to reduce the carbon footprint of its cement, Solidia Technologies had to slightly alter the chemistry of the mixture.
In order to make Portland cement, you use limestone and sand. We take exactly the same raw materials, but we change the recipe a little bit. We mix it about 50-50, and that reaction happens at a much lower temperature, about 1200 degrees Celsius. Now, what that means to the cement company is instead of emitting 1 ton of CO2 for every ton of cement, they emit about 40% less than that, and they use 30% less energy to make that same amount of cement. They also get more cement with the same amount of raw materials.
研发团队把制成步骤排放的二氧化碳封进水泥块中。
Another benefit? Solidia helps with water conservation.
The concrete industry uses about 3 trillion liters of water a year. That's about 1 million Olympic swimming pools. Solidia's technology doesn't consume any water. And I can, instead of curing it in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it takes us 24 hours. So it's a lot easier for them to get it out in the market. So in the end, we actually are going to save the industry money.
要说环保水泥最大的缺陷，就是无法在开放空间中固化。
Right now, the Solidia product can only be made in a controlled environment. And so as a consequence, they can only make blocks, whereas the vast majority of concrete is ready-mix concrete. And that's what we see in the trucks that are driving around.
Ready-mix concrete accounts for nearly 3/4 of all concrete used. So if Solidia technology is to go mainstream, it needs to find a way to make ready-mix without the need for a strictly controlled environment.
另一家加拿大环保水泥科技公司已经克服了这个问题。
This silver tank is the newest thing in concrete. It's called Carbon Cure. This innovative system injects carbon dioxide into the concrete as it's being mixed. When the concrete hardens, those otherwise harmful emissions are sequestered forever, before they ever even reach our atmosphere.
We actually convert the CO2 into a mineral. It's a stone. It's getting trapped in the concrete forever. And the best part about it is that the mineral itself actually improves the compressive strength of the concrete.
Compression tests like this one prove that the concrete made with Carbon Cure is just as hardy as the traditional stuff.
Ultimately, if this technology was deployed across the globe, we could reduce about 700 megatons of CO2 every year. And that's the same as taking 150 million cars off the road every year.
而且 Carbon Cure 环保水泥可以用来建造大楼。
This building behind us is all built using Carbon Cure concrete.
That's right. It's 48,000 cubic yards of Thomas concrete made with Carbon Cure technology.
A 12-story, $200 million development in the heart of one of Atlanta's trendiest neighborhoods. And every inch of concrete you see is infused with CO2. It's the largest structure Carbon Cure has ever worked on.
So how many pounds of CO2 savings are we talking about here?
In this building right here, it's going to be over 1.5 million pounds of CO2. If we could pretend that these were trees, it would be the same as 800 acres of forest sequestering CO2 for a year.
Wow.
截至2016年，环保水泥在全球市占率仅 3.5%。到了2018年，环保水泥的全球营收为214.2亿美元。业者预估到2026年，环保水泥的获利能够增长至435.9亿美元。
The company says global adoption of Solidia products would reduce CO2 emissions by 4% per year. That is double the CO2 savings that we would get if we grounded the entire aviation industry. Solidia also says it would reduce energy consumption by as much as 260 million barrels of oil and save 3 trillion liters of fresh water per year.
这是一个可以获利，同时兼顾爱地球、崇高理想的解决方案。
全球的经济衰退跟全球性的气候变迁都在我们的时代发生，它预言的我们这个时代很可能是悲剧收场。到现在为止，没有一个国家可以课征碳税成功，但是整个极端气候的暴雨现象没有停歇，在南欧好几个地方，包括西班牙前一阵子要求独立的巴塞罗那，在本周都出现了大量的土石流，冲垮了好几个不同地方的山洪爆发。意大利也是如此，法国南方也是如此，总共有700户断电。谢谢您收看，下礼拜见，拜拜。